بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم اللهم علمنا أنفعنا بما ما علمتنا وزدنا علما سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. طيب بسم الله. The fasting, what things break the fast, what are the things that do not break the fast, what are the things that break the fast, and you have to make that fast up, and you have to also make up 60 days expiation, which is called kafara. So to make up a day, what is it called? No, to make up the day that you missed, or the day that you broke a fast. What is that called? Qada. Qada yaqdi means to make up something. So qada, your salat that you missed, your qada salat. And to make up a fast is your qada sawm, making up your fast. So sometimes there's only qada, and sometimes there's a qada and a kafara. It's never only kafara. So the expiation, it comes along with the qada. Because if you break a fast, or you do not even fast in the first place, you'll have to make up that fast. Just like you don't pray, and then you start praying, you have to make up all the days that you left, or you missed. Or if you messed up a salat, now you have to make it up later on. So that's a qada. So sometimes it's only qada, and sometimes it's qada with a kafara. And there are certain things, it's kind of giving an example, to answer some of the unanswered questions, or assumptions, or, hypothetically speaking, that things that could occur and a person could ask questions. And this is the theme of the Hanafi fiqh, that they will go on to so much details that if this thing happens, then this is the ruling. If this thing occurred, then this is the ruling. If this thing occurred, this is the ruling. So you'll find a lot of that. So it doesn't mean that if he says 24, it's only 24, and it has to be 24. So you will not find the same answer in every book of fiqh. So you will find different numbers. So because the different examples that they gave. So before he gave the detail about what are the things that do not break the fast, that someone may assume that this thing breaks the fast. For example, doing hajama, we talked about that. Cupping, it does not necessitate a qada, meaning that it does not break the fast. To do ghiba of someone, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever does ghiba, he has broken his fast. Meaning that he has broken the shield, because fasting is like a shield. When you do ghiba, it breaks that shield, and now the shaitan is pumping everything in you, and he has overtaken you, he's overcome you. So all the things that I mentioned there. Today we will talk about things that break the fast. You have to make up that day, and there's an expiation. There is a kafara, which will come later on. What is a kafara and how you do it? So again, he says, إِثْنَانِ وَعِشْرُونَ شَيْئًا. There are 22 things. The sound is kind of a little awkward. Not very comfortable. But he says 22 different types of things that break the fast and necessitate a qada and kafara. Okay, so let's talk about a principle that we can build these different examples, or masail, rulings. So the principle is, let's go back to the definition. What is the definition of fasting? Someone? The definition of fasting. I'm sure everybody knows. Go ahead.
To not eat for almost a day.
For most of it. Okay. Not enough. We need more. There's more to it.
You have light fast, listening fast.
No. That's the definition, not according to the fuqaha. We're talking about the fiqh, right? The rulings according to the sharia.
That's one of the.
That's a bigger picture of fasting. It's very important. But what is the definition according to the fuqaha? What they set for a fasting?
That's one of the Islam's pillar. So
We talked about that in the first class. Go ahead.
To not allow anything to enter the stomach through your nose, mouth, or anything.
In the opening.
Yeah.
So, food, drink, and sexual intercourse. Right? With the intention and
Sunrise to sunset.
from sunrise to sunset. So that's the definition. Okay. Now, what things break the fast? You can easily, even a child can say, yeah, I know, see? He knows. It's very clear, right? You eat or drink, or the third category, it will break the fast. Like, it's a very common thing. But is there any strings tied to this, or is it just general, there's more detail to it? So, we will say that if a person does any of these, one of the three categories, eats, drinks, or has relationship, I will use that word, relationship, intentionally, okay? Intentionally. What does that mean? With the intention. Didn't he have an intention of fasting? So what does intentionally mean? Deliberately. He knew that he was fasting. He knew that he already made the intention. He started his fast. And he knew that he was fasting. And now he eats or he drinks or he has a relationship. So that falls to this category that breaks the fast, absolutely. But it also necessitates a kafara. So you have to do qada and a kafara. Okay. Is it just general eating and drinking? What if someone goes and he takes, let's say, what liquid a person would consume and not die? Pepsi, for example. No, Pepsi. People drink Pepsi. Something else.
if he's really sick or.
No. Give me some kind of liquid that usually people do not consume. They don't drink.
Alcohol.
Then Pepsi is also haram. Give me an example.
Lemonade.
Huh?
Lemonade.
Lemonade people drink.
I know. A protein shake.
Mouthwash.
Bring it on if you have.
I know. Cold syrup.
Something that is usually not.
Ever drink?
It's not. People don't have a habit of drinking or eating
Alright,
that particular.
gasoline.
Gasoline, it will kill you.
Yeah, gasoline.
That's why I said you won't die. Okay, let's say if that's the only example we have.
Blood.
No, people drink
Blood.
gasoline.
Okay. Vampires.
People drink gasoline in North Carolina and places like that. They drink gasoline.
Take me there. Yeah, Rabbi Kareem. So to drink, so that we have that example. What is something that usually people don't eat? Go ahead.
Toothpaste.
Toothpaste. Good. Any other example? Dirt, flowers. Dirt is good. It's a good example, right? Dirt.
So that's you want.
Rock.
Eat rock.
Now, so anything that is not edible, that usually people don't eat them, but can someone drink gasoline? Yeah, someone can do that. Can someone eat dirt? Yes, someone can eat dirt. Can someone eat rubber, plastic, anything? Right? Right? Seeds of fruits and vegetables. Right? Right? What else? Anything. So, it shouldn't be something that usually people eat and drink. Right? So if it's from the kind of what people usually eat and drink, ma, it's called ma yutaghadha bih. That usually people use it as nourishment. They use it as ghidha. Ghidha is something that it nourishes the body. So it means edible things. Drink as well. Or it is something that is used not for nourishment, but is for medication. Like if you feel hungry, would you go and take a bottle of Tylenol and gobble it up? No. But do you have a headache and go and take a tablet and swallow it, drink it with water, eat it with water? Yes. So it's edible, but it is used as medicine. So anything that is used for nourishment or for medication. If a person intentionally eats or drinks, it will break the fast, absolutely. Great, that's easy. But also it necessitates a kafara, 60 days of fasting. Consecutive 60 days. So that's what he says in the second and the third paragraph. Okay. And then he breaks down the examples. He gives examples like if it's raining and water falls in the mouth, so it's coming from outside, right? And it's going to the mouth. Do you drink water? Everybody's drinking water. So water went in your mouth and the person swallows it, it's going to break the fast, absolutely. And also it will necessitate a kafara. Because water is something that usually people drink. And also it is for nourishment.
Wait, what if it's on accident? It goes in the
If
mouth?
it's accident, then we'll come to that. Or did we already spoke? We spoke about it, right? If a person drinks, I drink this whole thing. I'm fasting right now, for example, and I don't remember. That's why I said intentionally. That I remember that I'm fasting, right? And then I drink. That will necessitate a qada and a kafara. But if I don't remember I was fasting, I don't remember anything, and I drink. And then he said, hey, you're fasting. It will not break my fast. Right? But if this thing happens and then I go again, okay, is that going to break my fast? It won't. Would it necessitate kafara? Will it? If you read the book, if you did your mutala'a according to our definition of mutala'a, it does not necessitate kafara. So another example he gives also, أكل اللحم الني وإن كان مثلا إلا ذو جود. Eating raw meat. Do people eat raw meat?
Yeah.
Yes. Sushi. أكل الشحم في إخدال. And also eating fat. People eat fat. A good juicy steak has to have a lot of fat. أكل الحنطة. Eating wheat. Right? Wheat is edible. Although maybe raw people don't eat. But, you know, it's edible. He says, unless if a person takes a seed or an oat and he puts it in his mouth and he chews it until it disappears. We talked about that in the things that do not break the fast. Okay? To swallow حبة حنطة. To swallow something like a seed of wheat or other things like that. So, now the detail of something small, little, if it's from outside of the mouth, if you take something and you put it in your mouth and you swallow it, right, it's going to break the fast. And if it's according to the edible and for nourishment or medicine, then it will necessitate a kafara. But what if something is already inside your mouth? If it's smaller than a chickpea, Urdu to call it chola,
That.
right? Chickpeas, right? So if it's smaller, meaning if it's a very small thing, like a shred of meat that sticks between your teeth, and you pluck it out, and you don't take it out. Just it stays inside the mouth and you swallow it. So that much, it's still, you're excused for that little bit. But if it's amount of a chickpea or more, then it will break the fast. But there is no kafara for it. وَالْمِلْحُ الْقَلِيلِ. And then, he talks about this, the dirt. Now, there are certain types of dirt. I don't know, maybe some doctors here would tell me which kind of dirt nowadays people eat. We use it for nourishment. I know the compost and those kind of materials that we use for gardening, it has minerals and a lot of stuff in there. But normally for people, maybe it will kill, right? It will make the person at least sick. So dirt, it doesn't. So he gives a specific dirt that people used to use it for some minerals and for some benefits, some vitamins maybe, some kind of power, Maybe it was a different form of these energy drinks that we have, right? Maybe that's the origin of it. Allah. Al-milh al-qalil, taking a little salt. Now, using little salt, it is usually edible, right? Sometimes I've seen people before they eat, to bring the, I think that, maybe they use it as a appetizer, or maybe to build the appetite. Allah alam. They will taste a little salt. So that breaks the fast, and it will necessitate a kafara because it's edible. But if you take a big chunk and a person eats it, so that much, he says that it is not, it does not make kafara. It doesn't necessitate kafara, but it definitely breaks the fast because you are putting something, you're consuming something. So the bottom line is that eating or drinking anything breaks the fast, but the things that break the fast and necessitate kafara is something that it is for nourishment or medicine. There is also a third category. Someone has a habit of eating a certain type of thing that usually people don't eat. Like you see some kids that eat dirt. You know someone? Say yes. Yeah, see. There are people in their childhood that like to eat dirt. I had friends who used to they love to eat dirt. They'll pick up and eat. Because dirt has iron, and sometimes the lack of iron in the body, they try to get that from their iron. So if a person has a habit, it will break the fast. It would break the fast, but if he has a habit of doing it, it will necessitate kafara as well, according to the most preferred view in the Hanafi fiqh. Okay, he gives also another. Can we leave the Q&A to the end? Okay, I'll come back to the end. Just don't forget. وَأَكُلُوا عَمَدًا بَعْدَ غِيبَةٍ أَوْ بَعْدَ حَجَامَةٍ. If a person, he hears a hadith, I make ghiba, it's going to break my fast. And then he did ghiba. He backbited someone. And he said, oh, I broke my fast. Okay, that's even better. I'm going to start eat and drink. Because I already broke my fast, and now I can eat and drink. So, it does not mean that, we heard the hadith but he says that if someone told him that, look, this is what the hadith means, and this person relied upon him, or he heard the hadith and he did not know the ta'wil of it, that spiritually it breaks the fast. Physically it doesn't. Right? It does not break the fast. Right? He will lose all the ajr. And he gives all the other examples of a person thinking that it breaks the fast, and then he eats and he drinks amadan, intentionally. It will necessitate kafara as well. Except for the exception that we just mentioned. Okay, and then he gives an example of a person who was forced to have relationship, and he was forced, but the second person was not forced, right? So if a person is forced to do something, just like a person is forced to eat and drink, it would break the fast. He has to make a qada, but it would not necessitate a kafara because he's not doing willingly. Because willingly is also under the word intentionally. Intentionally break the fast. Because he doesn't want to, but he's forced to. And then he puts a condition. Someone with power. If this child comes to me and says to me, you better eat, otherwise I'm going to do something to you. What is he going to do to me? He's a child. Or an ordinary person comes to me and tries to harass me, right? Forces me. But if someone who has power, right? He says, like the example of the leader or sultan, right? If a person is in that condition, then he will have to, right? Make up the qada, make up that fast. He doesn't have to do kafara because he didn't do it willingly. But the second person, nobody forced that person, right? She was not forced. She would have denied and walked away. Right? She did it willingly, that's why she will have to do kafara. Vice versa. If she was forced and the man was not, then فصل الكفارة وما يسقط عن الذمة. There are certain conditions where if a person breaks his fast and now he has to do kafara and qada both, but there are certain conditions where there's exceptions, right? There are excluded from giving kafara. So, a person who starts his kafara, right, 60 days, and is a female and she has her periods, or she gave birth and she has a postnatal bleeding, right, nifas or hayd, or a person suddenly got sick, or he had an accident, something happened that now he's not able to fast anymore. In the beginning, he didn't have any problem. It occurred in the middle. That person's kafara will be lifted from him, and he doesn't have to now start again or do a kafara later on. He's excused. Right? Let's go to the next chapter. Bayan al-kafara. What is a kafara? The expiation. So the first category doesn't exist, so we will jump to the second one. A person who breaks his fast intentionally from the three categories. He has to fast 2 months consecutively. شهرين متتابعين. How do you say in Urdu? دول लगातार महीना. You have to fast 2 consecutive months. You have to fast 60 days without stopping in the middle. You can't say, okay, today I'm going to take a break. Otherwise, it's not a kafara. Kafara should be a burden. That why did you do that? Such a horrible thing to do. You start something for Allah, and it's fard, and you have to do it only once a year, and you don't have to do it the whole day. It's only half a day, right? From morning till sunset. And you were able to eat suhoor and break your fast and eat more. Still you couldn't wait. Okay. So there's a kafara, 60 days. So that's why he says in the middle it should not come any of these days, like Eid, because on Eid day you cannot fast. Makul Tahrimi, we talked about that. Any Eid days. So it means you have to start your kafara somewhere after. Okay, you have Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah. Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, 2 months and 9 days. So if you can do it within those, how many? 69 days. Actually, 68 days. Because you're taking out the 2 days from both sides. You cannot fast on the 1st of Shawwal, and you cannot fast on the 10th of the Hijjah. Right? Sahih? So you have 68 days. So you better make up your mind if you have to do it. If you didn't, after 8 days, khalas, you cannot. Because there's the 4 days coming up, which is makruh tahrim, is almost haram to fast. So you'll have to wait after Hajj. If a person is not able to fast 60 days, illness, disease, old age, could be any other reason that a person is not able to fast, then what he does? He gives 60 miskin, 60 people who are eligible to receive zakah. That's the definition for miskin. A person who's eligible to receive zakah, not to give zakah. Okay? So whoever is eligible to receive zakat, you can consider that person a miskin. So you either find 60 people. That's going to be very hard. You feed 60 people, morning and evening, 2 meals a day. So you come, you bring 60 people, tell them to sit here from Dhuhr till Isha. You will get lunch and you will get dinner. Or you bring them early morning, give them breakfast, give them lunch. That's also very hard. Okay. What else can we do? Let's go and get one person and tell them that you come over for lunch and dinner for 60 days. That's much easier. That's better, huh? You can do that as well. So you have to complete the count of 60 meals, 60 lunch and 60 dinner, or let's say 120 meals. Okay, let's put that aside. Make it more easy. Just give the amount of sadaqat al-fitr per miskin. Now, what is the amount of sadaqat al-fitr? We will talk about that in maybe the last or the second last class, inshallah. What is the amounts? He gives a little bit here, but we'll jump to the next one, inshallah. So you can give the food, two meals for 60 miskin, or you can feed 2 meals, 1 person for 60 days. Or you can give raw, what do you call it? Food, grain, etc. Or you can just give the amount, the money, which is the same amount of sadaqat al-fitr. So 60 masakin, you give them the sadaqat al-fitr amount. طيب. Now, if a person, he does one mistake, does a second time, does a third time, keeps on going, keeps on. If I did it once, so what? I did it twice. No, I did it twice. Doesn't matter. The third time. And the more the person, he does something wrong, the more he gets used to it. But anyway, in any case, if a person does more than one mistakes, he does more than one thing that necessitate kafara, he has to do one kafara. So one kafara suffices multiple mistakes. But the condition is that a person, once he starts his kafara, if another mistake occurs, right, before, right? For example, a person, he did one Ramadan, and there were 2-3 days that he missed because he broke his fast of doing something that is not from the categories that break the fast and miss kafara, and he doesn't, right? He does not make up the kafara until the next Ramadan comes. And now it happens again in this Ramadan for 2-3 years. Even after 3-4 years, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Even then, if he gives one kafara, it will still suffice. Some of the Hanafi scholars have mentioned that one kafara per Ramadan. If he does the mistake again in a separate Ramadan, in another Ramadan, for the next year, he'll have to make a separate kafara. So for each Ramadan is one kafara, even though there is multiple mistakes in that one Ramadan. So it does not carry on to the next Ramadan. So each Ramadan will have one. طيب. For example, a person, the second example I was going to give, for a person who already started his kafara after Ramadan because of the one mistake or two or multiple mistakes in the previous Ramadan, and now he's doing the kafara, and then next year he does another blunder, right? Now he has to do another kafara because he has already made up for the previous ones, and now this is a new mistake. That's why you have to do what? Kafara. Is everybody following me? Kind of? Clear? Like, if you have any question, you can quickly ask and know. Except for this one. These two. I have some special time for you at the end. Like, just don't forget. Coming back. Okay. Babu ma yafsudu as-sawm. Things that break the fast, but no kafara. So what was the first one? Things do not break the fast. Khalas. Things that break the fast, go ahead. And
things that don't?
Things that break the fast. And
Brushing your teeth?
no. The categories. The title of the category. The first one was what? Things that do not break the fast. Second,
Oh, you have to make up and then do kafara?
qada and kafara. Now we're talking about things that only necessitate qada, no kafara. طيب. He says, 57. 57. Now, is there like 57 categories? No. Give me examples. So, as we said that it has to be things for nourishment, food and drink, or for medication, or a person has a habit of eating that. Normally it's a habit of taking it. Like we talked about a certain dirt that has minerals in it, and people usually eat it. Give me another example of something that is not common that people eat, but certain region people they eat. In Russia,
A coin?
coins. Machines eat coins out of it. I never saw a person. Or a robot can eat a coin.
Or diamond?
Diamond. Yeah. That's a good example. Some people, they crush diamonds and they eat them. Right, Dr. Sam? Never heard that? No. Okay. I don't want to be sidetracked there. Where we were?
People eat diamonds?
People eat.
Yeah. Things that normally people don't eat, but in a certain region, certain place, people eat it.
Insects?
Insects. Okay.
You see?
Insects. Yeah, that'll fit the category. People don't eat insects, but certain people eat it. So if those people eat those insects, and actually they have a lot of protein in them. Certain insects are high protein. People go camping, that's what they eat. So if someone is camping and is fasting, and if that's what he eats normally when he camps, then it will break the fast and he has to do kafara. Because it is for nourishment. And it is mu'tad, it's custom. People eat it. But in a general setting, if a person eats an insect, it will break the fast, absolutely, but it will not necessarily kafara. So, he's giving examples. If the fasting person eats what? Raw rice. Who eats raw rice? I don't know. Ajina, dough, right? Flour. A lot of salt. We talked about that. Or the dirt, other than the dirt that he mentioned before, Armani, right? Nawat, seeds. Normally people don't eat seeds, except if it's what? Watermelon seed, or pumpkin seeds, or people eat them, right? Which other seeds? Sunflower seeds. So those will break the fast and they will necessitate kafara. But other seeds, like a date seed, people don't eat it. Safarjalan, and all the other things that he mentioned. And then he talks about a scenario. You have a question? Go ahead.
What if you go to the dentist and your doctor puts like some kind of paste that you could taste in your mouth? Does that break your fast?
If he puts it while you're fasting in your mouth, and you can taste it, but you do not swallow it, then it is okay. But normally, while you're fasting, you should not go to the dentist. Why? Because you usually are laying down almost on your back, right? Your head is all the way back. And you're not sure that whether it went down or not. Sometimes you don't even feel it. And you may swallow something. So even if a little bit goes down your throat, it will break the fast. But it will not. You don't have to worry about kafar, okay? Because you won't eat that stuff. Nobody eats it. Right? But it will break the fast if it goes down. Right? But if you have done the work while you are not fasting, and now you started your fast, and then there's a little thing that came out where you still have the taste, then that's fine. It will not break the fast. Even if a little piece goes down your throat, it does not break the fast. Because what was the ruling, what we said? Yeah. It has to be the size of a chickpea to break the fast. Okay? Okay, we have 15 more minutes, inshallah. We will go for another 15 minutes and we will stop. Okay, he gives the example of dawa jaifatan aw ammatan. To have a medication that reaches the stomach or reaches the brain. Any kind of medication that goes through the body, it reaches the stomach or it reaches the brain, it will break the fast. But it will not necessitate kafara. Because it has to go through the makhraj, the throat, to necessitate kafara. Now, what is the detail? I will assume that we have a program on the 30th, May 30th, between Dhuhr and Asr. We have multiple speakers. Inshallah, Dr. Mateen Khan was by profession a doctor and is also a scholar. He studied for many years and he knows these details. So we have asked him to talk about certain things that are related to his profession. So he will go into some of these details. And if he doesn't, you can ask him about this. How does that happen? Reaching to the brain, reaching to the stomach. This is what the fuqaha say. How does it happen and why does it reach and all the details? A doctor can explain that better. And that's their area. We can give you the hukam, the ruling. Yeah, and he says that, where we are. Okay. A person who's fasting and by mistake, he's gargling, he's putting water in his nose, right? He's using water. And by mistake, he swallows water. And he remembers fasting. That breaks the fast. But he doesn't have to do kafar. Because he didn't do it intentionally. When you're gargling, if by mistake water goes down the throat, that's possible. Sometimes a person does not have control. Or someone by forces someone to break the fast. The fast will break. But he has to do kafara. And so on and so forth. If a person ate after he after he has eaten forgetfully, a person unintentionally eats and then he thinks, oh, I broke my fast. And now he eats and drinks. It will break the fast, but he will have to do qada and no kafara. We talked about that before. Okay. Yes.
Question about gargling. So when you're doing wudu during Ramadan,
You should not gargle.
you should not.
Should not gargle. Should not go into any situation where it might break your fast. The gargling. In particular when you're taking a bath, taking a shower. And that's why if it's fard to make a ghusl, you should do it before the break of dawn. And if it didn't happen, you do it after, then you should not gargle. Yes.
Well, you are fasting and you think you do not remember you are fasting. You eat. It makes nullified.
No, it does not break the fast. Because of the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا أَطْعَمَكَ اللَّهُ وَسَقَاكَ. That Allah has fed you and gave you to drink. Right? So it does not break the fast. And we talked about if you see someone eating and drinking, and it's Ramadan and you know this person is fasting, then what are you supposed to do? Anybody remember? Yeah.
If he's looks like he's unable to go on, you don't tell him. But then if he can, you remind him.
Very good. طيب. A person who intends to fast, right? Okay, a person did not intend to fast on page 366. A person, he intends not to fast. And he doesn't eat and drink, right? Since the break of dawn. Are we tracking? أو أكل بعدما نوى نهارا ولم يبت يبيت نيته. A person who eats and drinks after he has intended in the daytime while he did not intend from the night. What does that mean? That a person, he did not intend to fast, and he spent the morning after Fajr, then he thought that, oh, you know, I should fast. And then he breaks his fast. Originally, he has to do kafara, but in this case he does not, because he didn't intend to fast from the day from break of dawn. Right? Or another example he gives, أصبح مسافرا فنوى الإقامة ثم أكل. A person who in the morning at the time of break of dawn he was traveling and he did not have to fast, right? But he was fasting. He fasted. It was not necessary for him. He could have taken the rukhsa that Allah has given to him, and he did not fast. But now he fasted, and now he returned back home and he started eating and drinking because he's so exhausted. He doesn't have to do, because initially it was not necessary for him to fast that day because of his traveling. أو أمسك بلا نية صوم ولا نية فطر. Okay. A person who did not intend to fast, neither he had intent to not fast. So he had no intention. Basically, neither way. He was neither here or there. Okay. And then he starts eating and drinking. Right? And then he makes the intention, then he starts fasting, right? So a person, he did not have intention, nor he had intention not to fast. So he was totally open. And then he intended to fast, and then he broke his fast. Again, only qada, no kafara. And then he gives examples of other ways that a person can break the fast, and it does not necessitate kafara. A person, he ate after Fajr, and he thought that it's still time for suhoor. A person, he broke his fast before sunset, and he thought that the sun set. Right? So all of these scenarios, it's nothing intentionally. The intention is working in this whole scenario. Okay? أو أفسد صوم غير أداء رمضان. A person who breaks intentionally a fast other than the fast of Ramadan. So it means there's only kafara in the fast of Ramadan, no other fasting. طيب? That's out of the way. طيب. We will skip the 2-3 lines. Right. This is also something that the scholars have to review and to go back and see what exactly are these rulings for these scenarios. Because there are things that relate to medicine, and since if it reaches the stomach, if that's the result of these cases, then it will nullify the fast. But again, there's no kafara. Because it didn't go from the makhraj al-mu'tad, it did not go through the throat. Again, if someone is fasting and he vomits, then he swallows it back. Right? If he's remembering, meaning that he knows that he was fasting and still he swallows it. Qada, no kafara. Why is this qada? Because he is taking in something, right? Why there's no kafara? Because who?
Not intention.
It was actually in him.
Who does that? Right? أو أكل ما بين أسنانه وكان قبل. We already talked about that. نوى الصوم نهارا بعدما أكل ناسيا قبل إيجاد نية من النهار. Right? If a person intended to form his intention of fasting in the day, but he eats forgetfully before making his intention in the day. أو أغمي عليه. Now, this last part on page 369, أو أغمي عليه. You have it? In this whole thing, he talks about two issues. Two kind of illness, if you may. One is junoon, and the second is... Junoon is something funny? Sounds like a funny name, yeah. Junoon. Majnoon. Crazy. That's the normal. In the Arab world, majnoon, crazy. But here we say insanity. Junoon. And the second is ighma. Ighma, it means to go unconscious, to faint. So, which one is more, it has more duration? It goes for a longer period. Insanity or unconscious? Fainting. Fainting is short, temporary. You faint for an hour, half hour, a minute, sometimes a day, sometimes 5 days. It depends. But if a person is insane, he will stay for a long time. Right? It's hard to pull someone back. But some people get cured. They go to a rehab center. They get cured. So it varies in these two conditions. If a person is okay and now he becomes insane, he becomes a majnoon. Now does he have to make up for the days that he's missed? Does he have to make up the days before?
No.
Right. What if it's the whole month? What if it's half month, partial? So for ighma, since it's a temporary thing, the duration is not too long, right? It's usually short. That's why the day that a person faints, he doesn't have to make up that day because he was already fasting. So that's right, is over. The rest of the days that he is missing, he has to make up those days. Is this clear? So a person faints the day, if it's a daytime, then he doesn't have to make up that day. If it's in a night, it's already night. He is not fasting anyway. So the rest of the days that he stays unconscious, he has to make up those days. Right? If a person is unconscious the whole entire month, he still has to make up the whole entire month. But for insanity is different. Junoon is different. If it's the whole month, then he's ma'dur. He doesn't have to do anything. Right? But if he went in insanity, if he went crazy, for 2-3 days, 5 days, or half of the month, then he has to make up those days that he has missed. So only if it occupies the whole entire month, then he has to make up that. He doesn't have to make up the month, any days.
So when you say faint, does that also include like being in a coma?
Coma, yes, coma will also be included.
Just to make those up.
Yeah. Two more minutes. A person who is not fasting and he doesn't have to fast. Okay? For example, a female in her hayd or nifas, right? In her periods or postnatal. In either conditions, she doesn't have to fast. A person is traveling and now he's returned home. A person who is sick and now he's okay. In all these cases, if there is a day that is remaining, for example, it is 12 o'clock and now those excuses are over, right, in all the different scenarios. Now he has to do imsak. He has to stay away from eating and drinking, and the third category, for the rest of the day. It doesn't mean that if a person who's not fasting from the beginning of the day, since he's not fasting, okay, let him eat. Same thing applies for a person who accepts Islam in the middle of the day. He should do imsak. But for a new Muslim who does not know the details, he is excused. Even you don't have to force him to pray as well. Let him take it easy. He made that transition slowly, gradually. But normally that's what they mention. Oh, is there Aslama ba'da tulu'a. So for hayd and nifas, there's no qada, and for the rest of the situations, there is a qada for that particular day. Right? فَصْلٌ فِي مَا يُكْرَهُ لِلصِّيَامِ. You can read the categories are simple and easy. What are the things that are makruh? Toothpaste, right? Things that they have tasted and you put it in your mouth and you taste it or chew it, chewing bubblegum, anything like that. It is makruh, is disliked. It does not break the fast. What are the things that are permissible? You can do it. Can you put oil on your head? Can I put oil on my head while I'm fasting?
Yes. No.
Yes. Can I clip my nails?
Yes.
Can I trim my hair?
Yes.
Do all these things. Can I put surma?
No.
You know what is surma? Yes, you can. There's no haraj, no problem. You can do it. Can you do hajama or anything else? Cupping or taking blood out. Is that permissible or not? Yes or no? Yes? Permissible. No makruh, no dislikeness. Nobody's with me tonight. Everybody's gone. It is disliked if the person will feel weakness of doing so. If you need to give blood, right? What do you call it? The donation, where you give a pint of blood, right? If you're going to take out 2-3 of those, you'll faint. So that's makruh. But if you're strong enough and you know it's not going to make any difference to your fasting, it's okay. Same thing with cupping. I get dizzy, so I may not do them while I'm fasting. But usually it's not makruh. Doing miswak. A lot of people ask this question, can you do miswak while you're fasting? Yes, you can. That is sunnah. According to the Shafi'is, it is not recommended to do it after dhuhr, like around Asr time. From that time until Maghrib, you should not use miswak. But according to the Hanafi fuqaha, it is always recommended to do so. We will stop over here, inshallah. You can check the suhoor thing. Bismillah, your question. We are ready. If you are in a ilmi gathering, you can still continue with your lesson even while the adhan is going on. So from a sitting of gathering, a gathering of knowledge, reciting Quran, your salat, you're in the bathroom, certain things that you're not required to answer the adhan, but we will. How will you do it? One of my teachers used to do it this way. We will say it in advance. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan rasulullah, ashhadu anna Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala salah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Hayya al falah, hayya al falah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, la ilaha illallah, Allahumma barik ala ta'am, salat qa'imah, ati sayyidina Muhammad rasulullah. طيب. Alhamdulillah. Go ahead.
Oh, if a person faints, like if someone finds out and they're still unconscious, won't sometimes they bury them while they're unconscious?
We have to ask a doctor that. I'm not a doctor. That's nothing related to the doctor. Did anybody understand this question?
No.
That if you bury someone alive and the person is unconscious and you thought that he was dead, right?
Yeah, some people are actually.
That's why you know that the hospitals are very particular. They run through a lot of tests and make sure that person is alive or is dead. And once it's confirmed, then they release the body. So normally you cannot bury someone alive.
But some people did.
But some people did. That's why they have that Walking Dead. Okay, your question.
If your nose bleeds, is that considered that you broke your fast?
No, does not break the fast.
if the blood goes in your mouth?
Oh,
What if the blood goes in your
like
mouth?
it's dripping in your, what if it's dripping and the blood goes in your mouth and then you taste it? That makes sense?
No.
because it was still in you.
Unless if you know it went in your mouth and you swallow it,
Of course.
then it will
was
break the
still-
fast.
How's
Is there any amount of blood that will break your fast?
Any amount.
Yeah. Is there like a limit?
Okay. If it's a substantial amount of blood and you swallow it, it will break the fast. If it's not a substantial amount, it does not break the fast. Now, what does that mean?
I don't know.
If the blood goes in your mouth, right, it's a drop or more or less, whatever, and if you spit out, you can actually see the blood, and it's very dark red like blood, then that will be a substantial amount. But sometimes your teeth, right between your teeth, your gums are bleeding, right, and you spit. If you spit out, sometimes it's very light reddish, so that's not a substantial amount, because it's just a very slight, there's a ghalaba of the, what do you call it, saliva. So that will not break the fast.
What if you're bleeding from somewhere else, nothing to do with your mouth, you're bleeding from your arm, you fall, and you're bleeding heavily? Is there an amount that would nullify the fast?
No, if blood comes out of your body, it doesn't break the fast,
Okay.
in case. Even if that kills you.
Oh my god.
So if you bleed and you bleed and you bleed and you bleed, but you're still alive until maybe Maghrib, the fast is like,
Oh my god.
once the Prophet ﷺ was going in jihad, right? And he saw some of the Sahaba fasting, he said, لَيْسَ مِنَ الْبِرِّ مِنَ الصِّيَامِ فِي السَّفَرِ. That it is not from the ibadah, from the good actions to fast while you're traveling, in this travel. Meaning that you have to go and fight. So you have to be strong and awake and, enthusiastic, and you have to have the courage, energy. But if you're fasting, you're going to go and say, okay, come kill me. So that's why I said it's best not to fast. But normally, in a regular journey, Prophet ﷺ would fast. Like Badr was when? Ramadan.
The battle of
17th of Ramadan, right? Inshallah, remember that when we reach 17th of Ramadan. Make sure you remind me. Can I take some of the other questions around? Then I'll come back to you. Any other questions? We have 3 more minutes. Who had the hand raised? Someone had the hand raised. Someone in the back. No one? Okay, go ahead. See, I told you, you have to remember. So, next week, Tuesday, inshallah, we'll come back. If you remember, we'll go ahead.
Like, let's say you're fasting and you give azan. Is it permissible to drink like a second later and then do the azan?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is good to actually, when the time enters, take a date, eat it, and call the adhan.
Okay.
But if someone is going to have some doubts about your fasting, then just call the adhan.
Okay.
Because I think it's a psychological thing. Until they didn't call the adhan, okay, I don't know if it's time or not. And once you hear the adhan, you feel comfortable, okay, now I can eat. It's a psychological. It doesn't have anything to do with the adhan. It has to do with the time. So if there's no adhan, you have to start your fast and end your fast on time. Right?
People usually.
But it's good to give a minute or two to be on a safe side. You start, right, 2-3 minutes before time enters, 2-3 minutes after the time enters. And remember, can you remind me about the 15 degree, 18 degree thing, if we have time in the next session, inshallah, we'll talk about that. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, subhanallah al-azim, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk, wa sallallahu alaihi wa sallam ala sayyidina Muhammad.